I've seen all the Best Picture nominees, so let's talk about The Fabelmans. What is it? It's a semi-autobiographical coming-of-age drama ostensibly about a young Steven Spielberg and his aspirations as a blossoming filmmaker, but it's more about how his movie-making obsession was influenced by and ultimately affected the dynamic of his family and his parents' marriage. Who was it made by? Steven Spielberg. Ever heard of him? This was co-written by the great Tony Kushner, who famously won a Pulitzer Prize for writing Angels of America, and wrote the screenplays for the best Spielberg movies of the last 20 years or so. But Kushner shares a screenplay credit with Spielberg himself. This is only like the fourth screenplay credit in Spielberg's filmography, and his first one in 20 plus years since AI. How has it been received? It won the Audience Award at the Toronto Film Festival, which for the last 10 or 15 years has been a real barometer for getting a Best Picture nomination, if not a Best Picture win. Critics love it, it's gotten pretty universal acclaim, and the audiences who have actually seen it also seem to love it. It got an A cinema score, but not many people have seen it. As of this writing, it's gotten $36 million at the box office, worldwide, mind you, against a $40 million budget. I'm pretty confident that this is yet another victim of the, it'll be on streaming in a few weeks mindset. So, why bother going to a theater? Who would like this? Spielberg fans. Yes, it's autobiographical, and yes, it's about how and why young Steven Spielberg picked up a camera and started making movies, but it's definitely not a love letter to movies movie, and it's not a Spielberg myth-making movie, at least not in the way you're expecting. But if you are a fan of Spielberg's movies, I think there are some fun nods to his filmography. I don't know, I kind of found it fun to see how the sausage was made vis-a-vis Spielberg's directing career. Fans of Taxi, I guess? Hey, Judd Hirsch is in this, and he got a Best Supporting Actor nomination, which... Also, he's barely in this, so if you actually are a fan of Taxi and are watching this for Judd Hirsch, don't expect much of him. But it is pretty cool that he was nominated for this, and he was nominated for Ordinary People back in 1981. And that 42-year gap between nominations is a new record. Stay with me. Fans of David Lynch's acting, which we all should be.
Cooper flew the coop.
I realize he's in 2 minutes of this, but we get so little David Lynch acting that this is worth the price of admission. To the point that even if the rest of the movie sucked, which it doesn't, I'm happy to say it's great, but even if it sucked, I would still recommend it just for those 2 minutes. More in part 2. I've seen all the Best Picture nominees, so let's talk about The Fabelmans. I can see how The Fabelmans may be easy to dismiss. On paper, it kind of seems on the surface to be yet another entry in the the magic of movies movie. Which I think some people are sick of, particularly when the the magic of movies movie comes in the form of an introspective autobiographical movie about the director's childhood, which we've also seen a lot of lately. And while this certainly is an introspective autobiographical movie about Steven Spielberg's childhood, I wouldn't call it an the magic of movies movie. It's not a love letter to movies. It doesn't even romanticize filmmaking. It's about how young Steven Spielberg used filmmaking as a way to exercise a bit of control over the things that were scary to him in order to make them less scary. First scene of the movie, his parents take him to go see The Greatest Show on Earth when he's 6 years old, and it's his first movie. And a train crash scene in that movie scares the shit out of 6-year-old Spielberg. So he goes home and crashes his own train set, something he can control, in order to confront the train crash over and over to make it less scary. And because his train set is expensive, his mom tells him he should film the train crash once, that way he can watch it over and over again and confront his fear and also not break his expensive toy. So already, filmmaking is therapy. Filmmaking is coping. There's a montage of him making Super 8 movies with his sisters, and it's not an accident the things that he makes movies out of. Zombies, a skeleton jumping out of a closet, a bloody, painful trip to the dentist. Again, things that are scary. He's making them less scary by exercising control over them with his camera. Later in the movie, his camera captures a kid that bullied him, and Spielberg kind of wields power over his bully by having the power to tell a story about him with his camera, to control how people perceive his bully. Again, he's exercising control over something or someone that scares him. But the real kicker and the crux of the movie is when his camera captures things happening within his family that are otherwise outside of his control and are very scary to him. This isn't a love letter to movies because, like I said, making movies is a coping mechanism, but also, in a way, Spielberg making movies kind of ruins his life, or it at least rips his family apart, in a sense. Judd Hirsch got a supporting actor nomination for effectively one scene, and that's because he got the big speech about how family and art are incompatible and will tear you in two. That's not just a random speech, it's major foreshadowing. Spielberg's art ruins his family. I've seen all the Best Picture nominees, so let's talk about The Fabelmans. I'm pretty obsessed with opening images and opening lines. The first moments of your movie are valuable real estate, and they should be chosen carefully. The opening of The Fabelmans tells you so much. This is a movie that's ultimately largely about Spielberg's parents, Bert and Mitzi. Within the first 40 seconds, within the first shot, before there's even a cut, you learn everything you need to know about both of them. They're on a sidewalk outside a theater, and they're about to take 6-year-old Sammy Fabelman, aka Spielberg, to see his first movie, and they're both explaining what this experience will be like. Bert is explaining the science of movie projection, how, light is projected through a picture, and the reel shows you 24 pictures per second, it looks like it's moving. That is who Bert is. Mitzi is saying more artful, emotional things, like, movies are dreams. That is who Mitzi is. And what the movie goes on to show is that Sammy Fabelman, aka Spielberg, has qualities of both his parents. They are two sides of a coin, and they are the two sides of Spielberg / Sammy Fabelman. Like Bert, Spielberg is a technician. He's inventive. He comes up with practical ways to shoot things with a Super 8 camera and high school actors to make the movie look real and authentic. And like Mitzi, Spielberg has an artful eye. He sees things with his camera that other people don't see. His camera can show truths about people that they don't even see themselves. And again, this introduction of exactly who Bert is, technician, and exactly who Mitzi is, artist, which previews who Spielberg will become, it's all in the opening shot. I love when movies tell you exactly what the movie is, particularly so early on. I eat that shit up. Other stuff in the opening few minutes, an emphasis on light. As mentioned, Bert explains what movies are by talking about light. Light projected through an image run at 24 frames per second. In the movie that Sam and his parents see, The Greatest Show on Earth, a guy driving a car on train tracks tries to use the car headlights to get the train's attention to get them to stop. Again, light. As they drive home from the movie, little Sammy laments that their house is the only one on the block without Christmas lights, setting up how the Fabelmans are different and foreshadowing the anti-Semitic bullying that Sammy will endure in high school. It's just an extremely efficient opening sequence. It's so simple, but it says so much, and I dig that a lot.